What's up, peeps? Welcome to another edition of Hip Hop Head. My name is Julian Williams. This is part 2 of my video on Marvin Gaye. Pretty much I went to the first part of his solo career because, I didn't talk about early in his career when he was pretty much a duet artist. I just pretty much talked about, pretty much the popular, most high-profile time of his career, starting in like 71. But prior to that, he did make albums with Mary Wells. He had an album with Kim Weston and most notably Tammy Terrell. He had albums with these women, and he also in the 70s had an album with Diana Ross, Diana and Marvin. So, but I didn't mention that in part 1 of the video. I pretty much just went right into what's going on. But he did have albums prior to that. And anyway, this is the next part of his career. Pretty much when it just gets dark. Here My Dear was released in 1978. Here My Dear was the Divorce album, as many fans know it. The Divorce album. Anna Gordy, Berry Gordy's sister, was divorcing Marvin, and so basically you just hear it was a lazy album. I don't think Marvin put too much effort into it. Didn't put too much emphasis on it, but he's telling people, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. Songs such as Anger, Sparrow, Is That Enough? Is That Enough was sampled by 3 6 Mafia for Sipping on Syrup. Anna Song. Anna Song is probably one of the most depressing R&B songs that has ever been written. When Did You Stop Loving Me? When Did I Stop Loving You? That was another song that was it was kind of a mid-tempo song, but the words to that were just depressing. It was another depressing song. The album was just sad. It was just full of sorrow, remorse, and the kind of that dark side of love, that dark side of reality. When you're on this natural high and you just go down basically, and just hit a level to where all you feel is sorrow. But at the very end, he had fallen in love again, which is a song of, hey, this is what I'm going to do next time to avoid how I feel right now. And his marriage to Janice Hunter did not last long. So with the results of the Divorce album, that wasn't heavily promoted because critics hated it, because it wasn't a mainstream album, which is stupid to this day. When we have these award shows, and they say best artist, just that and the other, it's more of a popularity contest these days, because a lot of the artists I see nominated for a lot of these awards aren't really the best artists. But anyway, that's digressing to another point. Marvin pretty much, when his second marriage ended, he did have his studio, Marvin's Room. For those that don't know, Drake's song Marvin's Room was taken up after Marvin Gaye's studio. I see a bit of a correlation to the life of Marvin Gaye listening to Marvin's Room, when you hear the depression, and you hear like some sort of depression and sorrow coming from Drake. And he's when he's drunk, and he's drunk or high at the time. And he's calling up women and probably exes, and just talking about the past, talking about how he feels. And that's what Marvin Gaye did with his music. Marvin's Room was the place to where Marvin was able to, I guess, show off his tormented soul, and express himself in a way that he couldn't express himself in public. even though he was a very, free soul, I think that Marvin's Room was basically home for him. And going to the next album, In Our Lifetime. In Our Lifetime was actually a good album. I liked In Our Lifetime, even though it was an album that was just thrown together by Motown in order to pretty much end this pretty much to end this contract. It was his last album under Motown in Our Lifetime, and pretty much he signed with Columbia Records, where he reunited with Harvey Fuqua, who was a good friend of his. And not only was a good friend of his, he was also he was another in-law of one of the Gordies. Rumor has it they both tried to, both of them married Gordy women. I forgot why, but there was a rumor about them marrying Gordy women and having an agenda behind it. Who knows? But Harvey Fuqua pretty much was the man that produced Midnight Love, his final album that was released when he was alive. Midnight Love was the album that was kind of going back. It was a more slower approach to what he did on What's Going On. It was a slower approach. Another honest album, and Marvin's just going back, kind of into the let's get it on phase. But he's a little older. The pace for him is a little slower. He's more knowledgeable. More knowledgeable about life. He's 10 years. It's pretty much the 10-year anniversary of when Let's Get It On came out. He's back. He's talking about sex again. He's talking about having fun. But also, it was a case to where, hey, I'm more knowledgeable than I was back then. Now I'm more self-aware of myself, and I just want to have fun. I want to, to me, stuff. He just wanted to enjoy life. We hear the only song that you really hear about in the album is Sexual Healing. I like Third World Girl. I like that one, and I liked Rockin' After Midnight. But also, to me, a shining moment was on the deluxe edition of the album of, the a cappella version of Music, which Eric Sermon later sampled about 18 years later in 2001. So, pretty much that sums up the 70s and 80s career of Marvin Gaye. After he had died, he had a song, I think Romantically Yours was an album that Motown and Columbia came together and released, just so that they could fulfill that, I think, a 3-album obligation for Marvin. And then, in death, he had a song that pretty much made us laugh, Sanctified Lady, which is basically sanctified pussy. But, some of these songs that I can name from Marvin Gaye, some of these songs, classic albums, and consistency behind those albums. These days you could sit and you could listen to Marvin Gaye and be like, wow, these albums are much better and more consistent than the albums that come out currently. Marvin Gaye from probably and I liked one of his albums with Tammy Terrell, the second one they released. That's another one of my favorite albums. I can't tell you the name of it. I can't even remember at the top of my head. But Marvin's second album with Tammy Terrell was pretty good. And her death really had an impact on his career. And, pretty much, man, Marvin, it's one of those things where you can learn a lot from Marvin Gaye and learn a lot from his writing. I'm going through a situation right now. And one of his songs is just really, really speaking to me. A lot of his music is speaking to me. But anyway, I'm going to hit you guys up with another R&B Legends video. I'm going to do Donny Hathaway next time I do one. But anyway, peeps, that was Hip Hop Head. Thanks for watching. Peace.